All right. Well, today we're announcing a very significant drug case that we work collaboratively with the Texas Department of Public Safety, the United States Marshal Service, Houston Police Department, Customs and Immigration Enforcement, and it was probably the single largest dope arrest that we've made at Precinct 1. So this is a significant case for us in terms of getting these drugs off the street. This started about a year ago. In June, we had our Tactical Patrol Division that was out patrolling the streets and noticed some activity, strange activity going on in an apartment complex, which led them to further investigate and pull some vehicles over, only to discover that each vehicle that they were pulling over contained narcotics. And as a result, we went inside and kind of started looking around and saw this was a pretty active narcotics distribution apartment complex. There were about 30 cars an hour coming through this complex. So we contacted our law enforcement partners with the Texas Department of Public Safety so that we could get some of their undercover resources involved. And it took a year for us to actually serve a search warrant on a few apartment complexes, a few apartments that were there.
Your pen's making noise on the mic.
Oh, very sorry. So as a result of that, we got search warrants. We worked the cases for a year in conjunction again with our partners. And so we made 5 arrests of people that were involved in this drug trafficking. So listen to these numbers. They're pretty staggering, at least for us. Marijuana, there was 232 pounds of marijuana. Methamphetamine, there were 13 kilograms of meth, 7 kilos of coke, 1 kilo of MDMA. Heroin, there was 43 grams of black tar heroin. Gray rock substance, which was 21 milligrams, or 21 grams, and mushrooms 40 grams. It took up 2 big tables in our office, the amount of drugs that we had. We got 24 firearms, 3 of which were stolen and are being processed to see if they were used in other crimes. Immigration Customs Enforcement took 2 people that were a part of this. So ICE took 2 people who were here overstayed or were here illegally. Possession of controlled substance, second-degree felony were filed on a couple of them. And I'm just going to say that this is just a culmination of law enforcement working together to solve what was clearly a very big problem inside this apartment complex. I mean, I can't imagine a family living in this complex and the amount of traffic coming through there and the amount of people that were addicted to drugs and the illegal activities that were going on there. They saw 30 cars an hour coming through there to pick up drugs, and I'm sure they were doing other kind of illegal activity as well. So we served 2 search warrants, we arrested 5 people, and we got a significant amount of drugs off the streets. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Cummings, who's with Texas Department of Public Safety, and he will share some other things that we had in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Constable Rosen, for inviting us to be here with you this afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Craig Cummings, Texas Department of Public Safety. The operation that we're discussing today shows the strong partnerships in the Houston area that are helping law enforcement make the Houston area safer. DPS became involved in this investigation when the Texas Department of Public Safety special agents assigned to our Texas Anti-Gang Center in Houston worked tirelessly with our partners to address a drug trafficking organization that had a stronghold in an apartment complex in Houston with links to Tren de Aragua. The arrests last week, they demonstrate how the use of surveillance techniques, undercover operations, which are inherently dangerous, analytical workups, and substantial efforts by very talented investigators from several agencies help law enforcement fight crime threatening the safety of our communities. And And I want to note that the suspects that were arrested last week are suspected gang members. In closing, DPS and all of the agency's resources will continue to work with our partners to dismantle and disrupt other criminal organizations that are operating in Texas. Thank you, Constable.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant. You have any questions?
You guys know the street value of?
The street value is about $1 million, so it's substantial. It really is. And you know, we went into 2 apartments there with search warrants, and I have a feeling that you know, if we spent even more time out there, we'd find more activity. It's a shame because there are families that live in this complex and that have children in this complex, and this kind of illegal activity going on right out in the open is problematic. And so from our perspective, we're very happy that we dismantled this, and we want others to know that are in that area, we are in that area, and we will be in that area, and we will continue to arrest people and process people that are doing illegal things like this out there. It's just a fact. And the beauty of it is that we're working all collaboratively from the federal, state, and local level. So we're tackling it from all fronts, and people deserve to live in peace, and they deserve to be in a drug-free zone. And you know, when drugs, you got crime, you got violence, you got the higher propensity of violence and criminal activity. And so for the families that live in that complex, we hope we brought a little peace you know, to your existence that live there. Because I'm sure they saw it every day, their kids saw it every day, and you know, we're sick and tired of it.
Of the 5 people arrested, just to clarify, 2 of those 5 were picked up by ICE?
They were processed by ICE, so we did not arrest them.
Do you have the names of those people?
We'll get those to you.
So does that make 7 in total?
It's 7 total, but of course ICE processed them however ICE processes them.
Okay, so just to clarify, 7 what, detained?
7 detained, 5 arrested, 7 detained, and 2, ICE was present during this investigation, and they of course processed the people that were here that had an issue with immigration issues.
Do you know their country of origin for those 2 that were processed by ICE?
El Salvador was 1.
El Salvador and I think Honduras.
That's it.
I think so. Yes, sir.
And another question, do you know, do you have a time frame of how many years, or how long these people were operating in the apartment complex selling?
I don't. I can only pick it up from when we started looking at the case. And this is, again, I want to really reiterate the great police work that was done. These were 2 patrol officers that saw suspicious activity of a car that went into a complex and was there for a very short time and came back out. And that's not necessarily suspicious, but something led them to believe that something nefarious was going on. And so they had probable cause to pull them over, did pull them over, and did discover narcotics, which then that made us take a much closer look at the kind of activity, and we went in undercover as well and started looking at a bunch of narcotic activity, a bunch of narcotics trafficking going on there. And so that's when we brought in our partners, because sometimes these investigations lead to much larger investigations, or something that may be multinational, that may be federal. So we brought in, you know, our state partners, and you know, so that they could bring their area of expertise. They're excellent at narcotics, and you know, if this involved something that was coming across the border, we wanted to obviously include our partners in that. So yeah, I mean, it was exceptional police work.
With that large amount of drugs there, do you know who might have supplied that?
Don't know that yet. I don't know if it had markings of cartel. I don't know that yet, but it's all of it's being looked at. I mean, whenever you get a you know, a large drug seizure, you always look at that stuff. And of course, we're working with, you know, DEA. We always collaborate with DEA, and they may have some larger investigation that they're doing. I can only tell you that what we did for a local apartment complex and families is what makes it worth it to me, to get these drugs off the streets and to make that complex more peaceful.
Constable, can you describe a little bit, elaborate how they operated
Yeah, they had lookouts. I don't want to get too far into it, but they had lookouts that would radio traffic each other. They had about I think it was about 8 or 10 people that would be in the parking lot, and the cars would come through like you're going through a drive-through at a fast food establishment, and they would leave. And so you know, that's kind of the way they were doing it. They were using it, the complex, sort of as a drive-through drug trafficking place.
Would you say they had taken over this complex, or did the management not quite, were they not quite aware of their actions?
You know, I can't help but believe, and I'm certainly not saying that the management knew about it, but I can't believe that people didn't visually see the amount of activity and what was going on. A car comes by and they're there for 2 seconds, and you know, you see a hand-to-hand exchange, and you know, they leave. But I'm sure they were probably scared. You know, like many other people, that the narcotics trade is a pretty dangerous world, and so they probably, a lot of people that lived in the complex probably didn't want to be involved. And so I can tell you that they weren't involved because it was our officers that saw this activity going on, and we initiated the case initially.
Do you know how many different apartment units this operation was using?
Well, we only had search warrants on 2, and so that's all we had. I don't know if there's any more, but we'll see. We want to make that complex as safe as possible, again, for the families that live there.
Does that concern you about other apartments in that area?
It does.
Are you checking into those?
I don't want to say what we're doing, but I can tell you that I said a few minutes ago that you're on notice, that we will be out in the area, and we will be looking for further criminal activity that goes on there. I don't want to say that, you know, we've spawned another investigation, but it's possible.
Is there any indication there could be more serious crimes connected, like any homicides?
Yeah, whenever you cover guns that are used in the drug trade business, obviously they have to go through an evaluation to ensure that they weren't used in a homicide or some other crime. And so we have at least the 3, well, all of the guns will probably go through the ballistics check. Certainly the 3 stolen guns are going to be going through ballistics testing to see if we can tie it back to another crime. So we always do that. It's just a matter of protocol to ensure that these weapons weren't used in some other crime somewhere.
How many weapons were?
24,
24?
and 3 were stolen.
The drugs were in those 2 apartments?
Yes, sir, they were.
And I saw in the video that was provided, there's images of like a cult, Santa Muerte.
Yes.
And so is that something, what are your thoughts about, you know, that?
I believe these people, they had a shrine that was made in one of the apartments to, I guess, to keep law enforcement away, is my guess. I guess they were hoping that law enforcement would stay away from their complex or their apartment while they were dealing drugs. But it was a very large religious shrine, if you will, that we encountered when we went to the apartment.
When you went to the apartment, did it go pretty as planned, or there wasn't any kind of escalation, or?
It went as planned. It was executed very well. It was a coordinated effort, again, between federal, state, and local. And again, I can't compliment the people attached to this investigation. They did an exceptional job. It was great police work. I know often the public doesn't know the kind of work that we do, and they don't sometimes understand the work that we do. But this was just really good police work. I mean, you had officers that were on the street patrolling that saw something suspicious, just like citizens see. Citizens see crime happening around them, and the hair raises up on the back of their head, and they know something's not right. And so this is what officers do every day, and it led to a very significant case. And we were able to coordinate again with our law enforcement partners and do what we do, professionally do what we do, and that is rid this complex of drug dealing and criminal activity, and that's what we do. That's what we get paid to do.
Lieutenant Cummings, you mentioned ties to Trent Delagua. Can you
Yes.
kind of comment more on who was, like, how many members might be connected to that gang?
Yeah, so the connection to TDA, that's still an ongoing investigation, so we can't get into that. But our investigators are absolutely plugged in, working with the constable's office, working with our partners, and furthering this investigation so that we can make Houston a safer place.
You guys feel everyone that was involved was at the complex was arrested?
No, I mean, I don't want to say. I can tell you that, again, it's still a fluid investigation. We're still looking at various things, still synthesizing some intelligence data that was gathered. So if we do make an additional arrest, we will certainly notify you and update the case, for sure.
Should residents be worried for any retaliation from these gangs?
No, I mean, as I said, and I'm saying it again very loudly, this was not there was no case initiation done by a citizen in this complex. This was done by good old-fashioned police work. These were police officers patrolling the area that saw activity they knew wasn't right, and they acted on it. We didn't involve anybody in this complex. We didn't involve the management. We didn't do anything. Of course, we wouldn't, because we don't want to, we don't necessarily trust everybody. We don't know if they're connected to this group. We don't know any of that. So we do it on our own. We work this entire case up on good police work, not any citizen involvement, not but make that very clear to the drug dealers that are hearing me. That had nothing to do with the complex.
So going forward, are you dissuading citizens from being involved, or do you want people to report things in this area?
I don't want people to feel like their lives are in peril by doing something. Obviously, we can't solve crime without citizen interaction and citizen data. So yes, if it's safe, and we have anonymous ways that you can contact, and you can do it all online, and you can anonymously report criminal activity to us and DPS and everybody else. So you can do it anonymously, and if you're comfortable and you feel safe, then you should do it. And we encourage you to do it. But I don't want anybody putting their lives or their families' lives in danger. So that's why we do have and you can always do it with Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers you can give anonymous tips to, and you can keep your name and your whereabouts anonymous. So yeah, I mean, we can't solve crime without the public's help. I mean, we rely on it heavily, but in this case there was no public help or assistance in it.
Over the past year, the whole investigation, you're not aware of anybody complaining about it or filing in?
No, sir.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Well, again, I mean, you're talking about drug trafficking. People are, they've watched a lot of TV, they've seen a lot of things that have happened, and they want to raise their families in peace, and they want to not involve themselves in things, and so people inherently are scared. Law enforcement's going to do its job, and you can do it anonymously. You do not have to give your name, you don't have to give your phone number. I mean, we have tips that come in all the time about criminal activity, and we're going to work up on it. We're going to do our job. That's our profession, is to investigate those things. But yes, I'm surprised that somebody didn't call and say, God, there's these people out in the parking lot, and there's multiple cars coming through every hour, a lot of traffic coming through, and we're kind of curious as to what it is, but nobody did.
Just to confirm it, Bruce, just telling us
Yes.
that one of these men was like the leader of this group?
Yes.
Is that correct, Juan Trevino?
Yes, yes. Yeah, he's charged with PCS, a second-degree felony. And it may get upgraded to organized crime. It would, we're working with the prosecutors because, it involved, multiple people in this criminal enterprise.
Can you repeat